Hi, it's Michael Clark, data scholar and industry advisor, former employee of many digital startups and established Fortune 500 companies. So let's talk about what we think the digital future is going to be. And we're kind of in this really exciting phase of human history where change is rapidly moving on a daily basis. I don't remember a time where every morning you wake up and something new is happening. So that leads challenges for businesses today in terms of how they keep up, but also from a society in terms of how we are able to use these new technologies, given the current educational system may not be fit for the world we're about to enter. So what is that future that we're talking about? Well, I think one of the big things, and I think won't surprise you what I'm about to say, is that AI has kind of opened up a can of worms. Some people have a negative opinion of it. I think it's a really positive thing. The reason it's a positive thing is it's forcing us to look at the systems that exist today and asking ourselves whether or not they're fit for the world that we're about to enter. So our educational system, I've mentioned, today we go to school to try and pass a test. In the future, we're going to need a whole new different set of skills. Some we have already, some we need to regain, and some we just need to learn from scratch to be able to leverage some of these technologies. But I think one of the big things that's going to be the key to our future is actually data. Something that we've lost sight of probably since the early days of computing. But ironically, because of AI, there's now a demand for data globally. But that also is bringing new challenges. So I think one of the first things we should talk about in terms of the future is this concept of data sovereignty and user-owned data and user-owned identity. Now, a lot of people think this is a really bad thing. I actually think this is a great thing, because now we'll end up having real-time AI on our device with our own personal AI assistants, being able to give us things that are unique to us. But also we start to remove some of the trust barriers that exist today, but also then allowing regulators to focus on some of the things that are really important. So things like ethics and security, which are going to be a big part of our digital future. So data sovereignty is one of the first things. I think as part of that, and those who follow me know I'm a big component of data as an asset itself. So data, I think in at least the next 18 to 24 months, will become a real asset like electricity or water. That then will lead into a whole new paradigm that we've never really seen before. So this will now start giving us, predictive healthcare. So today we kind of guess. Everything is sort of A/B testing myself or copying others, where we're about to move into a world where we won't cure cancer or diseases, but we will prevent and protect them, all because we'll have our own data and our own AI on a device. And this is already happening. So I'm based here in Dubai. Work is already underway in terms of shaping what that might look like as a regulation. We're working with a lot of senior people here in terms of what we're defining as the next economy, which is underpinned by data as that asset and the role of identity. So those two components are things that we've broken probably for the last 20, 30 years, are now going to come together, and that's going to unlock all sorts of innovation. So data financial products, new forms of data health, and so on. So then that takes us on to the second digital future is, well, what's the future of work? Now, this is a huge debate topic because a lot of people think AI is going to take all our jobs and we're all going to be sat on the beach wondering how we're going to get paid or even just having a good time, right? But the reality is none of us are going to lose our jobs. Yes, jobs will be automated, of course. But the point is AI needs us and we need AI. And the reason being is we have the data that it needs, but it also needs us to be able to interpret that data. And we need AI because, let's be honest, with so much information going to be flying around, there's no way in a million years that a human being is going to be able to match the patterns, look at all that knowledge and just not be able to do it. So we need each other. But that then brings into the debate of, do we even have, and I've mentioned at the start, do we even have the things in place to be able to read our data, use it, challenge it, but also know what's real and what's not? So as part of the future of work, and I would even everyday life, I think we're going to see a whole new change the way we learn and also the way that we think. In some respects, it's going to advance the neurological pathways in our mind, which is going to make us more critical thinkers. It's going to allow us to debate more, reason, but also have more data literacy, which I think we'd all agree is something that's lacking. Just to give you an idea, 16% of people in the UK can't find their balance on a bank statement. And we're about to unleash one of the most powerful technologies onto the world. If not, we already have them. So what does that mean for work in general? Well, today we hire for job titles, right? We actually look for people based on a CV and all those sorts of things. But that's going to change, because in the future, we won't be looking for job titles. We'll be looking for skills, because our AI will be requiring those to be able to move our organization forward. So we've got this radical change when it comes. So that's work, and that's data and AI. But what else is next? So what about digital twin technology? Now, historically, that's been used for many years, first coming from NASA to get man back from space, right? Now it's used in industry like BMW and various others. We're entering a space where we will have a digital version of you. So imagine being able to A/B test your own health in the next 5 years, which may seem a bit like science fiction, but we're kind of getting to that point where all of a sudden now I own my data, I've got my own AI. Why can't I A/B test my data and stop, trialing medication on myself and guessing? Whereas all of a sudden now I can do things before they actually enter my body to understand the impact. So some of these things are already happening, by the way. There's different markets around the world where we're seeing avatars and various other bits and pieces. It's just the next logical extension, which then asks the question, how are we going to move all this stuff around? So one of the big future changes will be new forms of data compression. This is already starting to happen. Much smaller pieces of data being compressed down to move over pipes to allow networks to flow. And don't forget, we're probably only 4 to 5 years away from 6G technology, which will start to offer us near-field positioning systems, near-field satellites, drone technology, and any systems built from the ground up with AI. So we are probably in this phase of digital and history, which is a bit like when they were building the railroads, right, with Carnegie and Rockefeller and so on, where if you think about what Web3 is, I like to think of Web3 as building the next railroads of the future. The difference is we're not running trains across these now. We're running applications and we're running data. So as we start looking forward for the next 5-10 years, world is going to be a very different place, which then leads you on to AI itself, as we've talked about. That will become more of a partnership between human and machine. So I've got my own data, I've got human and a machine partnership. I have a new way to work, but also a new way to engage myself and understand my environment better. But I also have a network that will power all of this and move all this data around. So we are moving into a world that is more connected than we've ever known before, but more importantly, in control of people, running in real time. And we need this because today trust is massively declining. Governments are struggling, and not forgetting we're deleting a lot of our culture. And that's what data is as well, let's not forget. So I think that's the positive future that I think will emerge over the next 10 years. There's so much more. We need to talk about the role of quantum computing, even connective cognitive data into your mind. All of these things become more positive when the data becomes owned by people, and we have more control over artificial intelligence than we do today. There is the dystopian alternative future where if we carry on our current path with the way we think about AI as something that's going to take over our life and smarter than us and various other aspects, that future kind of looks a bit bleak. But I think that future is probably best kept for sci-fi. I think the work that's underway globally in markets like Dubai, the UK, and so on, where data is now being elevated. China's Element X program is a great example. So a lot of my time now is working around the world, helping people think about data very differently and the role of AI, but also what it means for people. So to round it all up, really excited by the next 10, 15 years. We've already seen more change than we've ever seen in 5 years, if not 2. But I think setting us on the right path and elevating some of these things and the role of data and people, and then combining that with an AI, I think is going to radically transform industry as we know it.